Welcome to Bishop's Online Tutoring. This is sheet number 4 covering negative numbers. Okay, here is a map of the British Isles. The temperature in some places one night last winter are shown on the map. Write down the names of the two places that had the biggest difference in temperature. Well, we are looking for the coldest and warmest area. So the coldest would go to Edinburgh for being at -7 degrees, and the warmest would be Plymouth for being at 5 degrees. So our answer is Edinburgh and Plymouth. Work out the difference in temperature between these two places. Well, we remember that Edinburgh was -7 degrees Celsius and Plymouth was 5 degrees Celsius. So the best way to understand this would be on a number line. Let's put -7 on one side and 5 on the other and then fill it in. Now, the difference in temperature between these two places is going to be, let's start from -7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 degrees. Two pairs of places have a difference in temperature of 2 degrees Celsius. Write down the names of these two places. So let's go back up to the map and see which two pairs of places have a difference of 2 degrees Celsius between them. So instantly, I can see that Plymouth and London are 2 degrees apart because Plymouth is at 5 degrees and London is at 3 degrees. And Cardiff and Belfast are 2 degrees apart as well because Belfast is at -4 degrees and Cardiff is at -6 degrees. So our answer is Belfast and Cardiff, and Plymouth and London. Write down the temperature shown on the thermometer. So we can see that this is 0 here, this is a 5 over here. There's only 4 intervals, so it's clearly going up in 1. So 1, 2, 3, 3 degrees Celsius. The temperature falls by 6 degrees Celsius. So 3 minus 6, which will give us -3. Sally wrote down the temperature at different times on the 1st of January 2003. Write down the highest temperature. The highest temperature will be at noon, where it was 7 degrees Celsius. And the lowest temperature will be at 4 a.m. when it was -10 degrees. Work out the difference in temperature between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. Well, at 4 a.m. the temperature was -10 degrees Celsius, and at 8 a.m. the temperature was -4 degrees Celsius. So if we look at this as if it were on a number line, if you have -10 over here,
and -9, -8, -7, -6, -5,
and -4 over here, the difference is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it'll be a difference of 6 degrees Celsius. Now, we have to work out the difference in temperature between 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. At 3 p.m. the temperature was 6 degrees Celsius, and at 7 it was -2. So if you don't always want to draw out a number line, you can also think of this like this. 6 take away what will get me down to 0? Well, 6. And now 0 take away something gets me down to -2. Well, that's going to be 2. So now just do 6 plus 2, which is 8, and it's a difference of 8 degrees Celsius between the two. At 11 p.m. that day, the temperature had fallen by 5 degrees Celsius from its value at 7 p.m. Work out the temperature at 11 p.m. Well, at 7 p.m., we know that it was -2 degrees Celsius. So if it's dropped from -2 by 5 degrees, then it will be -7 degrees. The table shows the temperature on the surface of each of the 5 planets. Work out the difference in temperature between Mars and Jupiter. So Mars and Jupiter, so we're looking at the difference between -60 and -150. So ignore the minuses, right? How do you go from 60 all the way over to 150? Well, you have to add 90. So 90 is the difference. Work out the difference in temperature between Venus and Mars. Now, Venus was 480 degrees Celsius and Mars was -60 degrees Celsius. So now think of it like this. From 480, what do you have to take away to get down to 0? Well, 480, right? And from 0 to get all the way down to -60, what do you have to go down by? Well, you have to go down by 60. So now just do 480 plus 60, that gives you 540. So it's a difference of 540 degrees. Which planet has a temperature 30 degrees higher than the temperature on Saturn? So let's go up quickly. And we can see that Saturn has a temperature of -180. So we are looking for something that is 30 degrees higher than -180, so -150. And the only one that fits that description is Jupiter. So the answer is Jupiter. The temperature on Pluto is 20 degrees lower than the temperature on Uranus. Work out the temperature on Pluto. Well, on Uranus, the temperature was -210 degrees Celsius. So if the temperature on Pluto is 20 degrees lower than the temperature on Uranus, then we're looking at -210 minus 20, which will be equal to -230. The table shows temperatures at midnight and midday on one day in 5 cities. Which city had the lowest midnight temperature? Well, this is the column for midnight temperature, and the lowest temperature we can see is -7 degrees, and that's Edinburgh. How many degrees higher was the midnight temperature in Cambridge than the midnight temperature in Leeds? Well, the midnight temperature in Cambridge was -1 degree Celsius, and the midnight temperature in Leeds was -6 degrees Celsius. So that's a difference of 5 degrees. Which city had the greatest rise in temperature from midnight to midday? So let's go back up to the table and we will create a separate section next to the table and calculate the difference between midnight and midday for each city, and then we'll see which one had the greatest difference in temperature. So go ahead by adding a few lines just to make this a little simpler to see. We'll call this difference in temperature. Okay, for Belfast, it will be a difference of 7 degrees Celsius. For Cambridge, it will be 5 degrees Celsius. For Edinburgh, it will be 6 degrees Celsius. For Leeds, it will be 9 degrees Celsius. And for London, it will be 8 degrees Celsius. So the greatest difference came from Leeds. The table shows the temperatures in 4 cities at noon one day. Write down the highest temperature. The highest temperature will be Cape Town with 9 degrees Celsius. Work out the difference in temperature between Oslo and New York. Oslo is -13 degrees Celsius and New York is -5 degrees Celsius. So if I had 5, what would I have to add to 5 to make it equal to 13? Well, 8. So 8 is the difference between -5 and -13. At 8 p.m. the temperature in London was 3 degrees lower than the temperature at noon. Work out the temperature in London at 8 p.m. Well, London's temperature at noon was 2 degrees, and if it's gone down by 3 degrees, that would mean it's at -1 degree Celsius. The table shows the midday temperatures in 4 different cities on Monday. Which city had the lowest temperature? Well, we can see from the numbers that -6 is the lowest, and that belongs to Glasgow. Work out the difference between the temperature in Cardiff and the temperature in Belfast. The temperature in Cardiff is -1, and the temperature in Belfast is 5 degrees Celsius. So to go from -1 to 5, it is a difference of 6. By Tuesday, the midday temperature in London had risen by 7 degrees Celsius. Work out the midday temperature in London. Well, we know that it started off as -4 degrees Celsius, and then it's increased by 7 degrees Celsius. So -4 plus 7 gives us 3 degrees Celsius. The table shows the temperature in 6 cities on the 1st of January 2008. Write down the name of the city which had the lowest temperature. Well, that would be Moscow with -14 degrees. Work out the difference in temperature between Copenhagen and Cairo. Well, Copenhagen is at -1 degrees and Cairo is at 15 degrees. So we have -1 and we have to add something to it to get to 15. So the answer is going to be 16. And lastly, on the 2nd of January 2008, the temperature in Moscow had increased by 4 degrees Celsius. Work out the new temperature in Moscow. So Moscow started off at -14 degrees Celsius and it increased by 4 degrees Celsius. So -14 plus 4 gives us -10 degrees Celsius. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you got something valuable out of that video. Make sure you check out some of the other videos we've got on the channel because we are going through the entire GCSE math syllabus.